man, here we are, another Pirate Think podcast. Sitting here pondering, long time coming, but we are back and we're feeling good. And I wanted to just kick this podcast off straight off the bat I know, because it's something that I'm in the middle of, I really want to focus on re-energized. And as I drag myself out from a busy week, from 3 kids under the age of 6, with running a business with 15, 16, 17 staff, projects on the burn and lots happening, I can quite often feel myself, just like most people, feeling overwhelmed or maybe just a little bit overcome by not necessarily stress or anxiety or worry, but just the generalized busyness of life. And it's interesting because the whole idea around wanting to start the podcast and wanting to communicate around life, family, work, business, friends, relationships, internal battles, external battles, basically everything that we as humans face. The most powerful or profound message that I feel I can give from myself out there to the world, or as a voice in this ever-changing, ever or never relenting kind of landscape that is our current world and our current, I suppose, situation, is there needs to be a level of continued refinement, continued re-energization, and continued, restructuring of the mind. And I think one of the best places to start for that, and has almost been one of the key turning points for getting me back in front of the mic, is the place of re-energization comes from taking yourself out of your mind and putting forward practical application, or bringing your mind into the present. And I think that has so many benefits that I haven't necessarily maximized at all, because I'm a very internal person. I come up with a lot of ideas. I have a lot of strategies. I have a lot of problems, and not problems like woe is me problems, just need to solve problems with complexities around them that require a lot of processing power, I suppose, from my mind. And so this kind of mindset of re-energization comes from almost the opposite of what we think we need to do. And I feel like in the last little while, re-energization, especially in these days with social media and TikTok, you can watch 1,000 self-help videos, which this isn't a self-help video. Don't listen to anything I say, because it's a good chance you'll go backwards. But a lot of self-help, I've spoken to a lot of guys, right? And they're like, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to start thinking this way. And what ends up happening is they now bring this new complexity in their mind of all these things that they need to develop or work on. And that in its very essence overloads the very system that's there designed to try and, or is there designed, or you're working on to help overcome some of these, stress points or hold points in your life. And so I just, re-energization, I feel, starts with coming out of the mind and becoming present. And for me this week specifically, I felt like I got to a turning point where I was just like, okay, I know my key weaknesses, my key strategies, my key defaults when I feel like I'm doing well in life, or feeling overwhelmed, or feeling too busy, or what it is. I know my triggers. Doesn't stop me from triggering, but I know my triggers and my early warning signs. And as men, we either feel like we need to compartmentalize, or we need to strategize or overthink a situation. And not an overthink in worry, but an overthink in like, I need to feel that there's a pathway, and that there's a few defined pathways that might get me out of this potential headspace or resolve on this particular problem. And I think both work okay. Compartmentalizing can just add continued stacking on top of compartmentalizing, and you have all these full sections in your mind. And although you've compartmentalized, There's the waiting of them, knowing that they're sitting there ready to need direction. But there's also overthinking and over worrying and taking your mindset down on these tangents that don't really bring any sort of fulfilling or like good resolute. What they probably bring is a little bit more worry or anxiety or whatever it might be. And so I think in these moments, for me, the re-energization is around stopping basically all of the head chatter and just starting to become more present. And so I would kind of put forward a challenge that if you're listening to this podcast or you're watching on and you're feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling like you're in a season of life where you also just need to kind of get a bit of woosah or rest or clarity or something like that, let me encourage you to bring yourself present. And there's so many techniques and tactics that you could use to bring yourself present. And there's great little like knick-knacky type things that you can do through the course of the day to get yourself out of your mind and into the present. But at the same time, I feel it's kind of like working out, right? Working out and dieting can be so different based on the genetic makeup of the person. So if you've got, a particular, body type, what works for one person might work and is proven in science to work, but it might not necessarily work for you because you're just a different person. And that's okay. But I think we are so complex as humans that we kind of feel like, I need to listen to this because this person's got this thing that works, but it works for them and it works for a select few, but it doesn't work for everyone. So when I try and think of things, I kind of go, okay, what are things that just work for everyone, not just are a great thing to put into place? And I think awareness is one of the key things. I think awareness is something that everyone can do, and I challenge myself to do, to be aware in a moment that I need to pull myself more into the present. And I remember talking to a friend a while ago who was struggling to like talk in front of meetings, part of his job role, and it was quite a high-paying job role and quite a high-caliber job role. And part of that for him was to basically give speeches or to deliver basically talks on stats about particular things, and he would be talking to CEOs and GMs and stuff like that of different places. And so he'd have a boardroom full of 8, 12 people that he would be delivering some things. And sometimes you have to deliver numbers that don't quite look right and people can have their all grumpy face on. And so he felt it quite intimidating, or he felt it like a bit nerve-wracking when he jumped into it. And I said to him, even in one of those moments, he's typically the type of person that likes to understand how he is positioning himself, how he feels when he's sitting, what he looks like, how he delivers stuff. And he's so internally in his mind focused around how's this guy posturing, how am I posturing, which is all good stuff to do. But it was like almost so all-consuming that when it came to deliver, he hadn't been present enough in the moment to be able to deliver well or to respond to the needs of others in the room or respond to the needs of the people that mattered in the room, because he was already just so focused on a whole bunch of other metrics internally. And so I remember challenging him even in those moments to, it's almost like, let yourself go completely and be present in that moment. Push the conversations, obviously you can only do what you can do in a certain meeting, but push the agenda or push the almost the energy over to the person for them to deliver, to tell them about what they are looking for or what they need, and be present in that moment so that you're actually listening and understanding and then starting to develop. And I just think there's a lot of power to be said about re-energizing ourselves, and the way to re-energize ourselves is to be present, and not present distracted present, but actually be present. And what do I mean distracted present? Well, it's like you could either sit in front of a TV, right, and go like, I'm spent, I'm done, I just need to relax and I need to rest, which might be the case, but I don't think you need Netflix for 3 hours in an afternoon. what you need to be present. And so you might pull yourself into a present moment and watch a TV, but what that TV show is doing is allowing you to escape into something which is back in your mind. And reading is similar, but reading's a little bit different, but still it's a distraction. And so the challenge is, how do I be present in a world that's so TikTok-y and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and shorts and reels and things are just flying at us constantly? It's like you need to just find a space. I'll tell you a story. I got 3 kids under 6, and even to this day, I actually struggle with this task. But when I used to rock the baby to sleep or walk and do laps in the room, I remember feeling like I've got so much on my mind, and I would be so internally wired and processing as I was trying to rock this baby. Number one, I don't think my body would have held a posture of like nurture and love and cuddling. Like I was cuddling and nurturing, don't get me wrong, but I was also wound up or tense or thinking about the 1,000 other things that I need to achieve without really being present in that moment and being present with the baby. And I could look down at her and I could feel the like beautiful love for holding this newborn, and I could feel like, isn't this a gorgeous moment to remember? And I would tell myself that. But I would find myself getting stuck in this thing where I'd try and count to 100, right? And I'd think in my head, if I just count to 100, there's a good chance they've fallen asleep, and then I can just put them down. And in order for me to literally have a downtime for 100 seconds, basically, was a challenge for me because I wasn't present. And although I was present and I was doing everything right and I was attentive to the needs, if she needed to burp or wriggle or squirm or do something, I was attentive. I knew what was happening. I knew how to make this baby feel safe and secure, but I knew it in a sense that still kept me up in my mind rather than being in the present with this child. And the way I knew that is because sometimes I would start walking and kind of dancing with the baby, and well, not dancing, but just bobbing or whatever. I don't fucking know what you do. Bob with the baby, and each bob I'd be counting, and I would feel this moment around like literally 15 or 16 or 20 seconds where my mind would start to become distracted again, and then a few steps later I'd be thinking, oh, what number am I up to? And as I thought on this more after time after time after night, I would challenge myself like to try and get to 100. It's like stay present enough in this moment and present enough in this one like mind. I was in my mind, but even this one tract of getting to 100. And so often I would just fail and get lost on a tangent. And so then it became a challenge that it's like, okay, I've got something going on here that I need to address. And whether it's right or wrong is not of question. For me, it was a question of, can I work out, and not can I beat this, but can I work out a strategy that I need to be able to bring myself out of this headspace and slow myself down and soothe myself enough in this moment to pull myself present where I didn't even need to count to 100. I could actually just be present with the child until it fell asleep and then put it down. And the reality of that sometimes is like, it could be like 5 minutes, it could be 10 or 15, but in the reality of stuff, it was such a minimal or minuscule amount of time that I could get so frenzied about or so rattled about at times because of this internal urge of like, something's gone wrong at work, or I need to sort this issue out before tomorrow. And it was like all of this stuff bombarding it, needing to happen now in my mind was so strong. When the reality, it's like, it's 8 o'clock at night, man. It doesn't matter how much you think about it. Maybe you'll come up with a solution, but you're not ringing people or organizing stuff. It's like, either way, this can wait till the morning. And so as I kind of come back from this shipwrecked season and back to the mic, which has been a challenge to self for so long, to just continue to get what is in me out, because I feel that there's so many men out there, there's so many people out there, there's so many situations out there where, I don't know, people need camaraderie, people need strategies, people need help. I mean, I need help. And this world that we're living in is continuing to develop at rates that none of us really thought were possible in some degree. Governments, wars, cost of living, politicians. There's so much, workload, emotional things, kids thinking they're cats. Like, there's a lot of shit going on. And I think for me, Pirate was always a space where I could just genuinely feel to be real and honest, regardless of whether it was right or wrong, because I don't profess to be right or wrong in anything. But what I do feel is I feel I want to be honest, and I want to be real with the things that I am processing and the things that I go through as a dad, as a business owner, as a worker, as a friend, as a mentor, as a husband. There's all this stuff that I process that I feel a lot of guys that I speak to all process these similar things, and we do it in such a, secluded way, or we can just get ourselves in these up and downs. And I mean, I'm so grateful and thankful for the amazing friends in my life that are just like, we've all got them, those just like consistent guys that you just think like, are you ever emotionally up or down, or are you just always this good? But I know for me, internally in my mind, I might present, actually I never present okay. I always present pretty messed up. But I normally can present okay, but internally I know I have these moments of, just needing to process or stop processing something. And re-energization for me is about slowing down. It's about, re-energization of a battery, right, is just stopping everything and physically plugging it in, taking it or disconnecting it from its attachment, from its drill or its angle grinder or whatever, disassociating it with life, disassociating it with the chaos or the tool or the need to achieve, and plugging it into something. And I really feel that plugging in is plugging into self and plugging into, and I don't mean you need to go on some weird spiritual journey or some like meditation and stretching and awareness, and all that stuff is great. And I'd hope to unpack more of that type of stuff in the future. And I think that's very valuable. But I think more than anything, it's just about being present. It's about not getting your kid's sandwich ready at 1,000,000 miles an hour with your head in 1,000 places. It's like, you know what? Right now I'm making a sandwich, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge myself in this moment to be present, and I'm going to make the sandwich in the present. I'm going to enjoy. I'm going to be thankful. I'm going to be grateful. I'm going to be aware of my surroundings and where I am and who my kids are and what I'm achieving. And it could be anything, but pulling yourself back to the present in a time where you're feeling at a capacity stretch or a growth moment in life or something like that, I feel pulling yourself out of the need to achieve, the need to work, the need to drive, and being present in a moment, which is a little bit what this was about tonight. I was so caught up in my own headspace of getting this first podcast out and caught up in this headspace of like, what am I going to talk about and how am I going to talk about it? And, I'm going to go in this direction or that direction or whatever it might be. But it was actually about, no, regardless of what this is tonight, pull myself back to the present, be in touch with the tangible, see, feel, relax. And I think that's something in the last few days that I've really challenged myself on and has helped so much. It's like, if you are stuck in this moment, a thing I always tell myself regularly, it'd be one of my life mantras for sure in the last 5 years, is this notion that if you're going to go through something that is outside of your control, and it can be inside of your control as well, but if it's something that's completely outside of your control, you have two options on how you might go through that. Option one, if it's really dumbed down and simple, you can go through it happy, or you can go through it sad. And you could almost dumb all of life down to that simplicity. But the reality for both of those, whether happy or sad, you have to go through it. You have no choice but to go through it. And so it's in those moments that I feel I have this opportunity right now, in lieu of this position that I'm sitting in my internal world, that I can let this overwhelm me, or I can be at peace with it. I can be fearful of it, or I can flow with it. I can be happy about it or sad about it. I can be happy about it. But the choice inevitably is mine. But one of the easiest ways to quickly circumnavigate all of the chaos in a moment is going either reflecting, right, this really sucks. We've had an incident in work and it's going to cost me $50,000. I have a moment then to be like, fuck this, and get on the phone and blow up and get abusive and get angry, and you don't know what it's like for me, and I've got a rah, 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 which is, I get it. It's a real feeling and it's a real thing that has to be processed. But I also in that moment can go, okay, there's now this situation that I have been, that has been placed before me in this life. And either way, I have to go through this. And either way, I probably have to pay the money, and the circumstance is going to be the circumstance. Maybe it's lost reputation, maybe it's lost revenue, maybe it's whatever it is. But either way, I've got to go through this. Now, if I got caught up in the emotion of anger and worry and stress and being fearful of how am I going to pay this back and what's the business structure going to look like and how are we going to manage this and rah, rah, all I do is end up spiraling down this mindset of basically everything that is not helpful. And I can end up in this place that, oh, woe is me, and it's so hard to run a business and no one understands, and that you get this perpetual internal dialogue of how you're justified for having a shitty attitude. And you are justified somewhat, because it is shit to have a situation that sucks happen to you. But at the end of the day, shit things happen to lots of people all the time. Whereas if I stop in that moment and I call myself on exactly what I've spoken about and said, right, this situation is about to happen. I have to go through it. I can choose to be happy or sad. I'm going to choose to do this happy. Now, in that exact moment, if I can't choose to be happy, one thing then I will navigate to is pull myself out of my mind, because there is going to be no efficient or effective strategizing when I'm feeling sad and overwhelmed at all, hands down. Don't believe it happens at all. Prove me wrong. But you're in that headspace, that's what happens. So it's like I pull myself into the present, not into my mind. I get a reflection, or I get a moment, usually when I'm in the present, of where I am, who I am. I feel anchored. I feel human again. I feel tangible. I feel I am this person in this space. And then I'm also focusing on I need to go through this happy. And so what do I need in this space, in this present space, to be happy? Not to distract, not to mask or cover, but what do I actually need in this moment to be happy and focus on being happy through this situation? Then the best thing about it is all of that mind power, or that internal processing power that could have been used to spiral into negative or justifications or a gnarky attitude or whatever it might be. All of a sudden I have all of this new processing power and new ability inside my mind to go, okay, I'm now faced with this situation. I'm choosing to go through it happy, not sad. And because I have to go through this situation that's outside of my control and I can't control it, let's take a step back and what can I control around the situation? What are some things or some low-hanging fruit that I can quickly grab and go, I don't have control over this situation, but I can control this and I can control that, and I can start taking pieces back and developing strategy and developing a plan of attack or a pathway to get on top of this situation. And I feel that time of processing, especially from an empowered, happy space, not an overwhelmed, negative space, gives me the ability to see opportunities, gives me the ability to see things that I might have otherwise missed if I was succumbed to my natural, overwhelmed, fearful, worried, anxious self. And I suppose in the end of it, re-energization is the ability to recognize what you need in a moment. And so many times we can justify, I don't mean justifying what you need like, oh, because of this I need, right? It's not like a selfish either give to me or I'm going to take because I've worked so hard or something like that. What it is a genuine need to process whatever you need to process at that time. And the only thing that'll aid in that process is to pull yourself present. Pulling yourself present. I need to do it more often, and it's a challenge that I'm going to do more and more. But yeah, I mean, if you made it this far through the podcast, and I don't know that any of that sort of resonates with you, or yeah, I would love to hear what you guys think about being present. But for me, pulling myself present has been one of the key strategies that has really helped me navigate through the last few years of my life, and I think it's a really powerful thing. What I thought I'd do on the back end of this podcast is, for those of you that have followed on for a long time, you will know that the first podcast was done with the infamous Sean Houlihan, who's shit, obviously. But he's been pushing and pushing, oh, where's your podcast? Where's your... It's just like, shut up. Like, where even is your head, mate? Get over it. But I appreciate you, Sean, for your continued pestering, at best, I would call it. But he sent me a couple of questions that I thought, hey, why don't we just ask them out there, and I'm going to answer them in a short, power-like hit out as quick as I can. Oh, maybe not as quick as I can, but I'm just going to bang them out. But there were some great questions in there. So good job, Sean, for you thinking about these questions. I'm sure it took a lot of effort for you to write these 11 questions out. In fact, I'm not sure how those soso fingers of yours managed to do it, but here we go. Podcast questions. Number 1, why are you gay? Thanks, buddy. It's a great question, and it is something that I have to go through, and I'm choosing to go through it happy. And yeah, I mean, I'm not gay at all. So far from gay. I have some gay... No, we don't even need to unpack that anymore. I'm not gay. If you are gay, like, you're welcome here, but this could be a hard space for you. And not hard because it's got lots of men and you're hard because that's gay. But just, yeah. I mean, be you, but I'm also going to be honest. Boobs. I'm just saying. We'll talk about this another time. Number 2, do you regret getting circumcised as you could have done with the extra length? Wow. Another great question you raised there, Sean. Really powerful stuff, life-changing for the people around us. So that's great. Look, I was circumcised as a young child, to be honest, because of some health stuff. And yeah, I could have done with the extra length. But you know what I mean? Helmets rule, bro. Fuck the beanies. Helmets rule. Number 3, you've been employed and self-employed. What's the pros and cons, and do you feel some people should opt to be an employee rather than run a business? All right, that's a big question, and I'm going to try and answer it as briefly as I can because I could definitely waffle on about this for a long time. The short answer is 100%. I think people are wired for running a business, and I think people are wired for being an employee. I also think when it comes to running a business, there's people that are wired to running like one particular business, or they're wired to like working for themselves, and they run, you know, like, I don't know, Bob's Plumbing or something like that. And 40 years later, Bob is still running Bob's Plumbing. And then there's those that run a business that are a little bit entrepreneurial, that are always wanting to do more. And so I think there's also a fairly substantial difference between employee mentality, business owner mentality, and then entrepreneurial kind of personality. So 100%. And to be honest, it's like, I see it like this. there's lots of people on earth that can't sing, and they really should never open their mouth. And if they're passionate about it, let them go. But I will laugh at you in the background thinking that guy's just giving it everything and he's shit. That's fine. Still give it everything. But there's people that can't sing. Then there's people that can kind of sing. And then there's people that can really, really sing. And then there's people that are like famous singers. And so I kind of think the same thing with business and entrepreneurship and stuff like that. It's like there's those that are really good at it, that manage to do really well at it. And there's guys that could have been good at it, and they do okay at it. You know, there's variant spectrums. But I think just like growing up going, I want to be a rock star, I think it's actually quite hard to be a successful entrepreneur or a successful business owner. And the stats would show that most business owners at some stage aren't business owners forever. All right, number 4, what advice would you give to younger Brad, business and life? Once again, massive question, and I think we could unpack so many of them, but like there's 10,000 things I wish I had told younger Brad, or I wish that both in business and life. I think I would have told myself to be more courageous. I think I would have told myself to back myself. I would have told myself that there's a world of people that don't do anything but do shit, and they don't necessarily do it well, and they still succeed just by doing it. And so don't overthink it, just do it. And I think earlier on, that same life mantra, if you were faced with a circumstance that is outside of your control, you can either do it happy or you can do it sad, but either way, you have to go through it. I think that's just such a life-changing kick, because it takes all of the justification and all of the other bullshit out of it. It's like, it's your choice, it's your brain, it's your life, it's your body. Only you can make that decision. You can't blame anyone else. You can't justify, oh yeah, but they said and this happened. And it's just like, yeah, cool, it happened. So how are you going to respond? Get over it. You're either doing it happy or you're doing it sad, but either way you're doing it. So why choose to do it sad? Business-wise, I would have told myself, take more risks. You don't make money with safe money. You make money with aggressive money. Question number 5, family. Important to maintain relationships, or is it okay for some members to be classed more of an A quantize? I'm going to have to even Google that. I don't know what that even means. Important to maintain relationships, or is it okay for some members to be classed more of a an acquaintance. Sorry. I'll wear that. I mean, number 1, I don't have my glasses on. I'm pretty blind. But no, fuck the family. They can be a quantize for sure. Lock that in. If you're watching this and you're a family member, you're a quantize. All right? It's official. An acquaintance. Nah, 100%. I'm not into this, and I might get a little bit of hate for this, but blood isn't blood, bro. Blood is not blood. And you know what? There's a lot of people that will stand out there that have been through some shit because of family, from manipulative parents to abusive uncles to whatever it might be. Blood isn't blood, man. Blood is the people that when the cards are dealt and the hand is down and it's getting tough, the people that back you, the people that support you, the people that hold you, that's family to me. And I have a lot of close mates that are as close, if not closer than family. And don't get me wrong, I love my family. I would bend over backwards for a lot of them because I feel it's the right thing to be a support and encourager. But I also think that it's the right thing as humanity to also be that for people. So little bit torn, but 100%. If they're a dick, they're a dick, and you don't need them in your life. They can just be whatever. And they can whinge about that, but that's their issue. And if they are going to whinge about that, it's just like, bro, this is outside of your control. Go through it happy or sad or whatever. 7, regrets. Ugh. I think I will do a podcast on this at a later date. But yeah, heaps and heaps of regrets. Thousands of regrets. Countless regrets. But I also redefined regrets for myself years ago. And that whole no regrets, fucking whatever. I kind of don't subscribe to that mentality. And for me, regret is an incredibly powerful emotion and an incredibly powerful tool for self-development. And those that are not willing to step into the depths of regret and process it well will never grow in life. Ever. What's one regret? Probably meeting Sean Houlihan, but next question. Number 8, what is a reoccurring anxiety you wrestle with? How do you manage, overcome? How do you manage or overcome? That's also a great question. We're going to have to unpack all of these. I'm going to drill Sean back on these ones as well. Man, I have heaps of anxieties. I have anxieties around whether I'm being a good father. I have anxieties around whether I'm being a good person. I have anxieties around whether I'm fulfilling what I'm meant to be here on this life to fulfill. There's so much stuff that on a day-to-day basis I can process and maybe have anxieties about. But I think, once again, going back to that, being present is a key to not being caught up in the anxiety and not letting a recurring headspace kind of like repeat over stuff. Allowing myself to feel the anxiety or the insecurity or the particular thing it is. And so a coping mechanism is bringing myself back into the present and reflecting on, hey, this is one small aspect that I seem to be like in a repetitive thought pattern about. But when I pull myself present, it puts that one thing into this like greater perspective that's kind of like, you know what? It's actually not that big a deal. And most likely the outcome that I think is coming out of this, or the thing that I've blown it up to be, might not necessarily be it. There's some longer term life ones for sure that probably come up from upbringing or trauma. But yeah, I think all of us are bombarded by a level of anxiety, and there's lots of coping mechanisms and strategies. But once again, all of that type of stuff, insecurities, anxieties, being overwhelmed, that type of stuff, I would classify that as all internal stuff. It's not a physical manifestation. It's all internal in our mind. And so once again, one of the best strategies overall to drop out of that is to bring yourself back into the present and find your self-perspective. Number 9, for or against AI, crypto, and more digitally ran world. I'm kind of for it. And I'm for it because I feel naturally it's a progression that humanity, or a trajectory of progression that humanity has been on. And I think it's really exciting to see what we can develop and, I don't know, what us as humans can do with this space. And it's quite remarkable and incredibly complex and detailed. And so I'm kind of for it for all of the things that it will help. I think just like, I'm trying to think what it was, but I remember a podcast around, maybe when Henry Ford was making the car or something like that. And there was a couple of like cowboys that still had their horse and cart, and they were just like firm believers that the horse and the cart would continue to be the better, stronger, bigger thing. And I don't remember the outcome of the story, but here we are, a few hundred years later, and like fuck your horses, whatever. So I'm for it. I'd love to unpack it more. Crypto space, I think there's a whole bunch of pros and cons in the crypto space. AI, I think, is incredible. It's still super, super dumb if you haven't played in crypto like deeply. In AI deeply. AI is still very dumb. It's kind of like, AI is like dealing with like an Asperger's or an autistic like 14-year-old. It's just like, fuck me, I can just give you a sum and you just rattle that shit off straight away. But it's at the same time, it's like, you're missing something, bro, aren't you? Like, you're incredibly intelligent, but you just kind of, your wires are crossed a little bit here and whatever. Number 10, thoughts on where the world currently is and potentially going. Man, I think, which is another challenge to self of why Pirate exists. I think the biggest space I see in the coming years for people is connection and human connection. I think that's one of the biggest things that's going to be lost through AI and companions that aren't human, and just through the development of the World Wide Web or the internet and, like online gaming and Twitch and streamers and YouTube and social media and TikToks and stuff like that. I think all of that stuff does is keeps us internally wired, not externally wired. And being present is about physical connection and human connection. And I think that's one of the biggest things that is dropping away or being lost. And I think it's really important to be able to maintain, like anything, to be able to maintain consistency and to be able to maintain a level of like average, not like up or down, but to maintain that average in life is about connection and human connection. And I mean, that's the space I really want Pirate Thing to be is a place where humans are connecting with humans, not connecting with not humans. Number 11, if you had to leave one pearl of wisdom to finish, what would it be? If I had one pearl of wisdom right now to finish off and wrap up this episode of Pirate Think, it would be subscribe.